From the Alex Trebek stage at Sony Picture Studios, this is Inside Jeopardy!
Hello and welcome back to Inside Jeopardy, your exclusive and official podcast destination for all things happening in the world of Jeopardy! I'm Sarah Foss, and if you could only see the motions that he's doing right beside me, I'm joined by Buzzy Cohen. You can't break my concentration, Buzzy.
Too late. It's happened. Thank you for having me, Sarah. I mean, this is the most small-talky way to get into this podcast, but how about this weather we're having in Los Angeles?
You know, it's unbelievable, and I've been talking to a lot of people on the East Coast, and they keep telling me, oh, man, what is it, like 70 and sunny? And I'm like, no, really, we're having some serious weather.
Yeah, it's
hail,
freezing conditions, hail,
wind gusts.
Grapple, which is one of those interesting winter weather events.
Grapple?
It's like kind of in between hail and snow. I learned all about this. This is like maybe an Inside Jeopardy exclusive, but I am actually the host of another television show which has yet to air.
I know about this, but share with the people. They want to know.
And I only bring this up because we had an episode about extreme weather, and we had two meteorologists explain how all of these crazy things happen. I learned a lot. It's called the Einstein Challenge. You can keep your eye. It'll come out this year, 2023.
It's coming out.
Back to here in Los Angeles, we are bundled up. It is wild. I was driving one of my kids in the car, and they freaked out when it started, like, hailing. Yeah,
I was taking pictures. You'd think I'd never seen hail before. But don't be concerned, because Buzzy Cohen still, despite rain, wind, chill, hail, grapple, you name it, dressed to the nines yet again, Buzzy.
Yeah, I had my old overcoat and felt hat to keep my head warm. I kind of feel like I look like Elvis Costello playing a hitman on a very special episode of NYPD Blue or something like that.
With a pocket square.
Yeah.
You can't take the fashion out of the Buzzy, no matter what the weather brings. And I love that. Meanwhile, I'm in a cashmere turtleneck, got a puffer coat. I am like bundled up.
Reminded of your story that you told about being in Michigan and just not.
Yes, northern Michigan. Never did quite adapt to that weather, but I loved my time there. Well, here on Jeopardy. In the Jeopardy AT, as Michael Davies likes to call it, JAT, Jeopardy Airtime, we have the Jeopardy High School Reunion Tournament going on, something we've never done before. Kicking off last week, 27 former teen contestants. We've told you this before. They played in Season 35 in 2 different teen tournaments. They were so fantastic, we wanted to ask them back. A reminder, it's a 14-day special event, 9 quarterfinal games, 3 semifinals, and Buzzy's favorite, a 2-day total point affair. Winner of this tournament receiving a grand prize of $100,000 and a spot in our next Tournament of Champions.
Wow.
What's been fun about these games is the way we're starting each show. We're showing you a clip from their initial run, and then we kind of dissolve into a shot of them now. And boy, have these young humans, what were we calling them?
We had
recent grown-ups.
Recent adults.
Recent adults. These recent adults, man, they have just evolved in just a few short years, and it's been so much fun to see them. Again, it's been so much fun to see Mayim Bialik back as host. This is actually her first time in syndication for season 39.
Wow.
We reminded folks that Ken Jennings will be back on March 10th, and then he's going to continue the rest of his syndicated run, which will take us through April 28th, and then Mayim will take over on May 1st, and she'll take us all the way through to the summer.
Mark your calendars. I want to talk about those teen glow-ups because they have really, it's a lot.
Right?
Yeah, you kind of figure yourself out a little bit in those years, I think. It's very funny that you're doing this. We're kind of doing like a flash forward when right now trending on TikTok is the teen filter where everybody looks like a teenager again. So kind of going in reverse.
Yeah, I don't know if I want to try that filter on because then, I got to go back to the mirror and a teenager I'm not.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't really work that well.
Okay.
You're not missing anything.
Well, thanks. See, I don't even have to try it. I don't even have to go on TikTok. Thank you, Buzzy.
You're welcome.
All right. Well, let's do it. Let's get into the recaps. We kicked off the tournament with Rohit Kataria, Maya Wright, and Audrey Sarin. This was a fun game, our first quarterfinal game, and it was dominated by Maya in the Jeopardy round. 14 correct responses and a daily double. She takes that strong lead heading into the double Jeopardy round. But in Jeopardy, we featured a great category, a crash course in John Green. Audrey, I don't know if you saw her reaction. She was so thrilled to see John Green, as we were to record with him. It was a pleasure. We actually traveled to Cleveland to record this, where he does a lot of his podcasts. So a lot of fun had by all.
Speaking of TikTok, John Green and his brother Hank, great follows on TikTok. Very smart, interesting guys. And it's funny that this category aired because just a week before it aired, I had no idea this was going to be a category.
Yeah, as Buzzy tells you, he knows nothing about what's happening.
I barely know where I am right now. But I was talking with Sarah and our podcast producer, Alexa, saying, hey, John and Hank Green would be great people to have on Celebrity Jeopardy if that comes back. It's looking like it's coming back. And they're like, oh, we just filmed a category with him. And I believe there might be a reference to John Green coming up in a later episode. I remember speaking with a certain writer.
Oh, yeah. Stay tuned.
But back to this game.
Double Jeopardy.
Double Jeopardy. Maya continues the onslaught, a $2,400 daily double.
And another 10 correct responses.
Very impressive.
Giving her a no doubt runaway win, kicking this tournament off with an exclamation point. She also gets Final Jeopardy correct, the only one to do so.
So Maya is our first semifinalist going into Tuesday's game, second quarterfinal with Allison Purcell, Jack Izzo, and Avi Gupta.
So fun to welcome all three of them back, but Avi in particular, he's been up to good things.
I remember him. He made a big impression on me when he was on the first time.
Yeah, and has accomplished a lot, but one of the things he talked about in his interview, which is so impressive, is that he actually created a fund for pancreatic cancer research at a local cancer institute to honor Alex Trebek, who had just announced his diagnosis shortly before Avi's teen tournament aired. And as of today, he's raised over $200,000. So
wow.
Avi does not need the Jeopardy High School Reunion Tournament to know that he is a success. And in this game, was not his game early on.
No, I mean, let's talk about Buzzy look like Jack Izzo.
Oh, yeah. People did say that on the tape day. Like, he's a young Buzzy Cohen.
Good smarter,
glasses,
handsomer.
Sharp-dressed.
Yes. Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
I'm just gonna leave that for the other podcast, Inside Buzzy's Insecurities, which Alexa has also said she will produce. But Jack plays an incredible Jeopardy round, including 11 correct responses and a $4,600 daily double. And this was a very, very close game. Allison, we're talking about Jack and Avi. Allison had 12 correct responses in the Double Jeopardy round and is just $9,000 off of Jack's lead. Everyone very much in this. I did watch this week of shows thinking, wow, it has kind of been a while since Final Jeopardy was such a factor. We've kind of been in this era of a lot of runaways. Someone will have 2 or 3 runaway games and then lose. This week, really tight games that came down to final. So exciting.
Yeah. And in the end, Avi Gupta, the only one to come up with the correct response in that all-important final, he moves on to the semifinals, a place he is familiar with from his first teen tournament. I do want to point out one clue that, people did comment on. It was homecoming for 1600 in Double Jeopardy. Her public memorial service took place at the lavish home Graceland on January 22nd, 2023. Of course, the response was Lisa Marie Presley. People were very curious how we turned this around so quickly, but this tournament, we didn't record these shows until January 29th. Our post-production team worked overtime to get them on the air so quickly. And when we have those tight turnarounds, that's when we have the chance to do these very timely clues. So even though it was very recent in the news, our writers turned that around quickly, and we were able to have one of these timely clues.
I'm imagining that this post-production team, like you open a door and there was just hundreds of people, just like, like the scene in Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory when they're opening all the candy bars.
Yes.
That's what I'm picturing. We move into Wednesday's fast turnaround game. We have Shrikar Matabushi and Autumn Shelton and Stephanie Pearson all going for one of these much sought-after semifinal spots.
Yes, and in the Jeopardy round, Stephanie ended it with only a third-place total of $2,800. She was nearly $9,000 behind first-place Shrikar. But boy, in Double Jeopardy, Shrikar had another impressive round. It looked like he was going to be running away with the game. But here comes Stephanie. She finds that last daily double. She goes all in, and she gets within striking distance of Shrikar, who ended the round with a great score of over $25,000.
Came down to final. This Final Jeopardy clue in the category of people and places thought to descend from people of Southeast Asia The Chamorro make up this U.S. territory's largest ethnic group.
Yeah, Autumn goes with U.S. Virgin Islands. Shrikar goes with American Samoa. But Stephanie, she knows it is Guam. She is correct. She pulls that come from behind win. In the post-game chat, she talked about just being so nervous about the math. You know, she wanted to make sure. So she didn't just want to win by $1. She went to win by $2 just for an extra security in the math. All right, well, we head into our fourth quarter
game. We head into the Thursday quarter quell. This is kind of like the quarter quell. Hold on. This is sort of like a quarter quell, like in Hunger Games. We're bringing them back. You thought you survived, but no, we're going to make you
I meant to say that.
Here we are in the quarter quell.
Yes, I can say it correctly.
Yeah.
We head into our fourth quarterfinal game on Thursday with Tegan O'Sullivan, Shreya Yarlagadda, and Justin Bolson.
Well, this was a pretty tight Jeopardy round. Could have been anybody's game.
Yeah, fun to hear from Justin in the interview about, Justin's at the gym. He's hitting the leg extension machine as you do with a workout buddy. Gets the email. He's so excited, but he has to keep it a secret. So it was a long time after that he actually got to tell his gym buddy what the news was. Another fun category in the Jeopardy round, and a clue that was pretty, timely. College football for $600. Currently a chief part of the NFL. He threw for 5,052 yards and 41 TDs in his last year at Texas Tech in 2016. Of course, we all know his name. He's had a big last month. Who is Patrick Mahomes? But the fun fact is at the same time that we were actually taping this clue, the Chiefs were playing the Bengals in the AFC Championship game, and Patrick Mahomes had the ball in his hand, leading the Chiefs down the field at the exact moment the clue was being played. Now, you want to know how we know this? Because our podcast producers, Alexa and Carlos, we've got big 49ers fans and big Eagles fans. So this was love of the job. They were dedicated to the show, but they may have had a television on in the background so that they could keep up with the game. So that's how you get these inside Jeopardy stats, Buzzy.
Well, it's good to know that they are as dedicated to the game as Justin, Shreya, and Tegan were in the double Jeopardy round. You like that transition?
See what you did there.
But Justin just turned it on. Big score, big daily double with 8,600 to go into a lead. However, 22,400 was not a runaway because Shreya finished within striking distance. Another game that comes down to Final Jeopardy. This was one where all three contestants got it, and Justin bet enough to cover and was our fourth semifinalist.
Yes, and not only did he bet enough to cover, but he knew exactly what he was doing. He wagered in such a sentimental way. So he wagered $823 in honor of his mom's birthday, August 23rd. And then his final score totaled $23,223, which represented the air date of the show, February 23rd. How he had the mindset to think of all this in the few minutes we give our contestants to wager for Final Jeopardy.
I remember being like, 8,000 seems like a good number.
It's a round number. It's got zeros. I don't have to do much math. Yeah.
Justin, wow. Well, going into our Friday game, last game of last week, we wrap it up with Isabella Pagano, Ryan Pressler, and Jackson Jones.
Yes, and I'm sure everyone was realizing at this point, wait a minute, what happened to Rotimi? We heard Rotimi was going to be in this high school reunion tournament. He wasn't able to compete at the last moment, so Ryan Pressler was our alternate. Ryan was only in 8th grade when he was a finalist in that 2019 teen tournament, so now he's back, but he's still in high school. He's a senior.
Overachieving.
In Sioux Falls, South Dakota. He gets the call up. He is in the high school reunion tournament. Remember, we have indicated there were 30 teens in those original two tournaments. Only 27 able to compete. We are going to find a way to invite the other 3 back at a later date. I know a lot of people online this week were looking for Emma. They've gone back, they've watched the reruns, they've seen Emma. She was an extraordinary finalist in one of those original teen tournaments. She's studying abroad right now.
Rhodes Scholarship or something like
Cambridge.
that? Oh, heard of it?
And so she wasn't able to make the trip for us, but we'll make sure that we see her back on the Alex Trebek stage.
Well, this was an exciting Jeopardy round, very high scoring. We had Jackson taking the lead, 15 correct responses, including that $2,600 daily double. But I want to talk about Isabella's interview.
Oh, yeah. You know, nothing makes you feel as...
I was about to say, I'm usually the young person at these tournaments, but all of a sudden...
She says to Mayim, you know, I was born during Ken Jennings' run, and when she was little, as soon as she heard the Jeopardy theme music, she would run into the living room and say, "Hi, Alex." So, Ken, I'm sure you've been watching. Don't feel bad. We were there during your run, too.
Yeah.
None of us was being born. But,
I'm
but
glad Ken did not have to be present to hear that story. But that sound you heard in the background was my head hitting the table when I realized just how old I'm getting. Double Jeopardy round. Jackson once again really in control. However, a lot of incorrect responses as well. 10 correct, 5 incorrect. We call that an aggressive buzzer player. Can work for you, can work against you, but it worked for Jackson.
Yes, and impressive for all three players. 5-digit scores across the board heading into final. That's a sign of some good gameplay.
Another game coming down to final, and Jackson locked it up.
He sure did. Ryan, though, in the post-game chat, he said, you know what? I'm still in high school. I feel like I held my own. You definitely did, Ryan, but it is Jackson who is headed into the semifinals. There you have it, our first week in the first ever Jeopardy High School Reunion Tournament. Great way to start it off with Maya, Avi, Stephanie, Justin, and Jackson each securing their spot in the semis. We're looking forward to discussing the 4 remaining quarterfinals next week, as well as our first semifinal game in the High School Reunion Tournament.
I think we should officially change the name from High School Reunion Tournament to the Quarter Quell.
Okay. You know what, Buzzy? We could officially do that because I don't know that this is going to be an event that, you know, is happening over and over again. So we'll just, whatever you want, Buzz. All right, for now, let's answer some viewer questions. Cue those beep boops.
Matt Hansen 1990 on Reddit asks, why is the High School Reunion Tournament using the regular music instead of a music package tailored to the teen/college tournaments? We've just been talking about the music packages a lot. Matt Hansen is clearly finger on the pulse of Inside Jeopardy. I know you've got the answer, Sarah Foss.
I do have the answer. It was fun to see how many people were really inquiring about this. They expected to hear dun-dun-dun, dun, you know, like our typical teen or college music. What we felt is that this wasn't a teen tournament.
Correct.
This wasn't a college championship.
Also true.
And so we didn't want to brand it as either one. This was kind of a special thing that we put together in a time when it just made sense. We had these, 27 contestants. We had a chance to do a reunion of sorts. And so it really is a tournament all of its own that I don't know we will see in future years necessarily. So we didn't want to brand it in a way that would identify it as a tournament or a competition that we've done in the past and that we may do again in the future.
All right, well, Doug asks, here's a hypothetical scenario that has me wondering. If both Audrey Sarin and Audrey Sachivi make it to the High School Reunion Tournament finals, how would they be addressed? Would one of them switch to using a middle name, for example, since they're both Audrey S? Wow, can't even go Bachelor style on that one. Would Mayim have to physically point to whoever rung in first if both of them attempt to ring in on a clue? Has anything regarding this close of a name similarity happened before, and how was it handled?
Well, this is a great question. Normally, our contestant department goes to great lengths to make sure that we don't book anyone with the same name on the same tape day to avoid this exact thing. Now, there are times where we can't anticipate who the returning champion will be. So we may have a returning champion like James Holzhauer, and then we have new contestants come in, and this did happen during James's run and also during Ken's and other super champions or even people on a streak, where someone comes in, they have the same name. Our contestant department will say to them, is there a nickname you'd like to go by? And if they are agreeable to that, then our host will refer to them as their nickname. Again, it has to be a nickname that they're familiar with enough that when our host calls on them, they won't be like, who are they talking to?
Scrappy Doo.
So we also give them the option that if there isn't a nickname that they're comfortable with, they can come back and play at a later date. Obviously, with this scenario and these two Audreys from two separate teen tournaments, this has never happened before in this way, where if and when they advance, we can't swap out the players. You'll just have to stay tuned and see what happens if the two of them end up in one game together. But a great question.
Well, I can tell you that from my experience, there has been a TOC final with 2 contestants named Austin.
This blew my mind.
Deep Jeopardy fans will know that my legal name is Austin, and I faced Austin Rogers, but I've always gone by
You
Buzzy.
were Buzzy.
So it was not
we can
an
never
issue.
think of you as anything other than Buzzy, or as I like to call you, Buzz Buzz.
Aw. Well, that wraps up our show. Join us next Monday as we discuss the final 4 quarterfinal games and the first semifinal of the first ever Jeopardy high school reunion quarter quell.
You heard it here first and last. All right, we can't wait for that. As always, please make sure to subscribe to the podcast, rate us, leave us a comment, share across social. Follow us at Jeopardy on Twitter, on Instagram, on Facebook, on YouTube, and on TikTok. And please send us your questions. We love to answer them. InsideJeopardyPodcast@gmail.com. And we will see you all next week.
For more great Jeopardy videos,
hit the subscribe button below.